everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the EFL Fantasy Podcast. My name is Jamie.
My name is Angus.
And my name is Dan.
And we are back to review game week 9. We'll get straight into it. We'll do it as we normally do. We'll go through our scores. Dan will go through the notable lineup news from the weekend, key topics, and then we'll go into the Twitter questions at the end. So I'll come to you first, Angus. How did you get on this week?
It wasn't a great week aside from the score because I got 69. I had Hladky in goal for 5. I had Drame come off the bench. So Drame and Dembele come in with 3 and 1 for Broadhead and Ayling, which meant that the only player that stayed on my bench was Giannoulis with 11.
Oh my god.
And Hume 6, Davis 5, Fleming 2, Somerville 2, Dewsbury Hall 11, Captain Jack Clark for 28, Vice Captain Rutter for 4. If Joel Pirro could control the ball, he would have hauled. And Godden for 2. So not a great week. Still going backwards, but kind of enjoying that as well.
It's got 2 around at 1 point, Angus.
yeah. There's only so far I could drop before I hit the dead teams.
Dan, what about you?
Yeah, so I played a boost this week, midfield Dynamos. It done all right. My transfer was a disaster, though. I brought in Dan James for Rowe. That didn't go great, especially on midfield Dynamos.
What's that about an 18-point swing?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it, Jamie. So my midfielders were Jack Clark, Dewsbury Hall, Sarah, Somerville, and Dan James. Clark got 28, Dewsbury Hall 22, Sarah 20, Somerville 4, and James 6. My other players was Hladky for 5, Davis for 5, Stacey for 9. Third week in a row, I've had a player with minus points. That goes for Potts, -1. And I had Pirro, and I did have Broadhead, but he no-showed. So I got Godden off the bench, and they were both for 2. So I sort of cut my rank in half. I'm up to 79th, which I'm pretty happy with, and I've still got 1 more boost to go.
And how many points did you score?
102.
102. You beat me by 2 points this week, and that was literally Somerville over McAteer, because I laughed at you, but I did exactly the same move. I took out Rowe for James, which was annoying, and then took out Swift for McAteer. It was a budget one that I wanted to do as well, and I did say it wasn't last week, it was just the other day that we recorded, but it was kind of a fun move to make, and yeah, it wasn't quite fun when he come on. He was benched, McAteer come on, and then he looks like he's pulled his hamstring, so unfortunately looks like he's going to be out for a long time. So yeah, I was 104, -4. Basically, that was my midfield down. It was Clark 28, Dewsbury Hall 22, Sarah 20, James 6, McAteer 2. Ugbo and Hardy up front for combined points of 3, because Broadhead didn't play. Aileen, I had him as well, so I had Manning come in for him 4, and Hardy came in for Broadhead. I had Kyle Walker-Peters though for 9, and then Davison and Hladky, 5 points each. So yeah, my rank though, I'm now at 69th, and I think there's about 3 points that separate. Don't laugh at the back there. It'll never not be funny, will it?
No.
Great to be challenged. The number 69 and farting will be the funniest things ever to me until I die. But yeah, obviously happy to be into the top 100 now. Got 1 more boost left. See how long the good luck can last. Pod team, Angus, Thursday Night Wars. How have we got on this week?
So we had a pretty good week. We scored 86 points. which when you factor in that one of the players we had was Brad Potts with -1, feels even better. We had Rushworth with 6, Hume with 6, Davis 5, Mumba 2, Somerville 2, Sarah 10, Dewsbury Hall 11. We captained Clark 28, vice captain Piero 3, and Adam Armstrong for 14. We came third, but that's because Manon and guys on Gaffr both played boosts.
Oh,
And we nearly beat guys on Gaffr. They scored 89 on midfield dynamos. So we nearly beat them in spite of that.
oh, I'd have loved that if we beat them without a boost. That would have been lovely.
And Manon smashed it on triple, despite their triple not actually going that well. But they did have Jack Clark on it.
Ah, okay. Right then. So where are we? Do you know where we're ranked now?
No,
No, okay.
because we're third on the league, but obviously because it's week by week sort of score, I have no idea what the standings are now.
Okay. Right, Dan, notable lineup information then from this weekend?
Yeah, so like last week, midweek pod, just the key fantasy relevant news. So we'll start off with Sunderland. Roberts were back in the starting 11. Southampton, Manning and Alcaraz started. Che Adams was on the bench. Leeds, Ayling was still on the bench, which it surprised me. I don't know if it surprised you guys.
It's annoying, I know that.
For Stoke, they were at 4 at the back with Hoover right back. Cardiff, Ogbo was on the bench. Ramsey not in the squad. Ipswich, no Broadhead. He wasn't even in the squad, so I think that's an injury in it, Angus.
Yeah, they're assessing him on Monday, I think.
Ipswich was still 3 at the back, so Mumba's playing left wing back rather than left wing at the minute. For Millwall, Bradshaw's injured. Swansea, Yates was up front and Jamal Lowe was left wing. Norwich, Plaqueta played left wing. Birmingham, Buchanan was injured, so he didn't play. Dembele was still on the bench. For Preston, Miller was in for Brady at left wing back. Keane and Frockyar Jensen were on the bench. For West Brom, their front three was Dean Garner, Wallace and Swift. Thomas Asante was on the bench and Furlong was back in at right back. Jamie Allen started for Coventry. Ayari was benched. For Watford, for some reason, they dropped Martins and Inch to the bench. Borough, Coburn was played as striker again, so highly rated youngster, getting good minutes at striker. Blackburn, Rankin Costello wasn't in the starting lineup again. Smodics played the false 9. And for Leicester, Justin came in at sort of the Doyle role as we expected. McAteer was benched and Vardy started. That's your key roundup news for this week.
Perfect, thank you very much, Dan. And I'm not going to go to Angus now because one of the first topics that we've got is one of yours, Dan. So those on YouTube who are watching, the graphics are back on the screen now, so just give you a bit of an indication of what we're talking about. Dan, you want to talk about Plymouth home versus away form?
Yeah, so we've mentioned it a few times, Plymouth's home form, and I just wanted to have a bit more of an in-depth look about it. I think a few of us probably are planning to play a boost soon, and Plymouth are quite a good side to enable us to do things across our team. So they play Millwall in game week 10 and Swansea in game week 11. They're both at home. Well, they've got 3 of the next 4 at home. They then in game week 12 are away to West Brom and 13 home to Wednesday. So it's quite a nice little run with 3 of the 4 at home. So far this season, they've played 4 games at home. They've won 3, lost 1, which, if you all remember, was the Southampton game when they lost basically the last kick of the game to Che Adams. They've scored 13 and let in 5. Obviously, they've got 9 points. And I was looking into their XG, and in all of their games, they've had a higher XG than 1. Some of them, 2 of them have gone. Well, one of them has gone over 2, and another one went over 3 XG. But what was interesting is when they're also conceding pretty much the same amount in all these games. So maybe they've been a bit fortunate with their finishing. They probably should be closer to 8 or 9 goals, where they've scored 13, and they've conceded 5, and they should have probably conceded 8 or 9 as well. But what we do know is their games have been pretty end to end, so I can't see it changing now. And we've mentioned a few times, especially Hardy and Whittaker, they're at really nice prices where they're definitely worth an option if maybe you're playing a boost coming up like Goalfest or Home Advantage. There could be decent options. How do you feel about those 2 at the minute, you guys?
Angus, do you want to go first?
I mean, obviously they're both good options at the moment. I think I said it on the last pod, I still prefer Whittaker narrowly, even though Hardy's obviously got more goals. But I do think I still lean towards Whittaker, and particularly for those that are looking at boosts coming up, but also just more generally, they are 2 of the better ones, and it's just a case of what it enables you. I think it also helps with them compared to some of these other forwards, that some of these other slightly higher priced mids are coming onto the table for people where they're now going to have to make savings somewhere. So I think those 2 are both decent options now.
And I think what's good about them, obviously the price, it being so budget, is I got Hardy when I sold Armstrong, and I chose Hardy over Godden because I was just thinking, not necessarily go back to Armstrong at the time when I made the move, but if Iheanacho comes on and starts scoring away with Che Adams, even Jamie Vardy, I need to be able to get back, so I went really cheap to allow me, if I did want to get back there. But also with Hardy, I benched him this week. I ended up getting his points because Broadhead not playing, but when they're playing away, because like you see on the screen there, their away form is 21st, so it's really not good at all. But they're cheap enough to be able to bench when they're away, and then if they have got a good fixture at home, you can easily play them as your first striker, can't you?
Yeah, I think so. Well, what's your view with Mumba? Because obviously we've probably had about 6 games where he was playing left wing, and although he was 5.5, he's classified as a defender in the game, so you're getting the out of position, and he's done okay with that. But if they continue with him playing at wing back, does he still appeal to you? Because defensively, they're not doing as. They're probably being a bit fortunate to not concede as many as they have.
Angus?
Yeah, I think part of it for me is I looked into it a little bit when he was playing on the wing, and it's easy to see, playing on the wing, and particularly I think the first game or the second game he returned, and it was like, this is going to be amazing. But if you looked at things like his average position, it wasn't really the average position of a winger. Even when he was playing on the wing, it was like just inside the opposition half, which is not terrible, but it's not sort of like, we've got this great sort of attacking option. So I think that sort of put me off slightly. And then as he's moved backwards, it's like, you're still good. You've still got someone who's capable when they get forward, but are they really getting forward, in that way? And I think that would still be the one concern, I guess, for me is the theory versus the reality.
Yeah, I agree with you, Angus. And like similar with the strikers, you could bench him for the away games, but the home games, with him being classified as defender, with them being, I know they're scoring goals, but they're also conceding goals as well. So there's not going to be many clean sheet points there. And I'd have said yes, I am still interested in him, and I've said that for weeks, but I've never come close to buying him. So am I actually interested in him? Because I'm not a stats person, but the small set of stats I have looked at, he doesn't really pop up that much. And I don't really look into that too much because I don't really know what I'm looking at to understand it properly. But no, I don't think I've gone there. It's just Whittaker or Hardy for me, and Hazard if you wanted a goalie. If you've gone there, but I wouldn't be making a keeper's change myself.
What about Finnezaz? Midfielder? He's cheap. I know we're trying to get really expensive midfielders at the minute, but does he appeal to either of you guys?
I think he's interesting, but it's I know I was talking to Luke Irons at one point who said his numbers, like his stats are amazing or whatever, but I haven't really necessarily sort of needed to go down to that and everything. Yeah. So it's just sort of like, do I really need him? But I think if people are looking to sort of go down to that sort of range, he's probably an option.
You'd have to put in a lot more impressive numbers in terms of returns for me to even look at that price, really.
Yeah.
Not quite doing enough, but yeah. Anything else on Plymouth?
Yeah, we might as well go through maybe a couple of the away as we got it on the spreadsheet. So they played 5 away, no wins, 2 draws, 3 losses, only scored 4, conceded 9, 2 points. What is interesting is the XG pretty much is in line with what it should be. So there's no massive overachievement or getting unlucky. They probably should have about 2 or 3 points. So yeah, there's definitely a massive swing between home and away. So like we mentioned, with them having 3 home games next, I don't think it's a terrible idea to bring in a striker, especially if Broadhead's out for a while. Could be a decent place to go.
Does when you're looking at the XG and stuff, because you understand this a lot better than I do, does the Norwich and the Bristol City games affect that drastically? Because obviously scoring 6 and then conceding 4 at Bristol City.
Yeah, so the Norwich game, for example, Plymouth scored over 3 in that game. They also conceded 2. So obviously they did massively overachieve. But normally, whenever you get 5 or 6 goals, there's always going to be an outperformance of XG normally anyway. The Bristol City one wasn't quite as bad, but they were conceded 2 or something like that. So you can see the anomalies, but especially away from home, it's not crazy. They have had a few games where they've conceded 2 XG.
Right, okay. I think something as well to keep an eye on. I wouldn't say worry about it, but it's midweek fixtures this week, so the last set of midweek games, that's when they went to Bristol City, and they rotated heavily, didn't they? So it's worth just keeping an eye on, just see if that is going to be a common theme. I'm not going to worry about it now, but I might start worrying about it next game week if that is the case. But yeah, anything else on Plymouth?
No, I just thought that's basically it. We'll go in on a bit of Plymouth this week.
Brilliant. Right, next one then. West Bromwich Albion, Angus, take us away.
Yeah, I just thought they're in the midst of a decent run of fixtures, but I don't think it feels like we haven't really talked about them much this season. But I mean, you look at the run coming up, their next 4 games: Sheffield Wednesday home, Birmingham away, Plymouth home, QPR home. So, and they've had a couple of theoretically good games, but they're the sort of team that people will be looking at now.
Yeah.
So I just thought I would do a bit of a deeper dive into them. So the first question I'm going to ask you guys. There will be a few questions I throw to you. Don't worry, they're not complex questions. 2 players have started every game this season for West Brom. One is Palmer in goal. Who's the other one?
It's not Swift. It's not Wallace. I know that. It's not Asante.
I think I know.
It's not Fiona.
Kipre.
Nope.
Oh.
I'm panicking. I'm trying not to be silent for the audio listeners. No, I don't know.
Matt Phillips.
Oh, no, I once got that. I've been here all day.
Matt Phillips is the only outfield player that started every game for West Brom this season. So we're already off to a great start in terms of convincing people on West Brom assets. In terms of starting 8 out of 9, you've got Darnell Furlong, Cedric Kipre, Jason Malumbi, Jed Wallace, and Okay Yakushlu. It's worth saying, even though Matt Phillips has started every game, Kipre was unavailable for one game. But even though Matt Phillips has started every game, Furlong, Kipre, and Malumbi have all played more minutes than him.
She was getting off here with them.
Yeah. Furlong has played the most minutes of any outfield player, followed by Kipre, which particularly given that he missed one of the games, suggests he's sort of, pretty reliable in that regard. Wallace has started 8 out of 9, but his minutes aren't great, and I'd just like to note that Jed Wallace doesn't have a single bonus point this season.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. He just doesn't. It's not the same Jed Wallace, the Gaffr monster.
No. So, and then in terms of 7 out of 9, got Ajayi, Peters, Swift, and Thomas Asante. But aside from Ajayi, who's playing 90 minutes every game, you're getting a lot of players with sort of reduced minutes compared to the games they're playing. And then after that, the next player in terms of starts is Connor Townsend on 4. So it's just there's a core of sort of players that are starting games, and then there's a few players mixed in. And then you've got Kyle Bartley on 3, Mowat and Diangana have started 2, Sarmiento and Chalobah have started 1. Madger's got some minutes despite not starting any. But you get into it and it's sort of particularly when people are looking or might be looking for options beyond John Swift, because I think Swift is an obvious one. It becomes a bit sort of okay, where do we go? Swift, even on goals, Swift has 4. You've then got Thomas Asante and Phillips on 2, and then just a whole cluster of players. There's 7 players who have 1 goal. Including sort of Mowat, Kipre, Furlong, Wallace, Sarmiento, Bartley, Ajayi. Wallace apparently has 2 assists, according to FotMob. No one else has more than 1. In terms of the XG, they only have 2 players who have more than 1 XG this season, and those are John Swift and Brandon Thomas Asante. They have 2 players with more than 1 XA this season, which is John Swift and Connor Townsend. Big chances created, you only have 2 players with more than 1 in Thomas Asante and Diangana. In terms of Gaffr points, you've obviously got Swift on 55, Palmer on 44, Phillips on 40, Furlong on 39, Thomas Asante on 36, and then Townsend on 35, Ajayi and Kipre on 33. Bonus, John Swift has got 16, Townsend and Thomas Asante have got 9. Phillips has got 7. And Furlong and Mowat have got 5. In terms of starting the last 3 games, you're getting pretty reliable in terms of Palmer will start. Townsend only has 1 start. Eric Peters actually has 3. And then Ajayi, Kipre, Furlong and Bartley all have 2. In the midfield, the only one to start all 3 is Matt Phillips, and then you've got Diangana, Mowat, Swift, Wallace, Yakushlu, and Malumbi with 2, Sarmiento with 1, and then Thomas Asante with 2. So I think it just goes to show you go down all of this, and you can look for sort of potentially reliable minutes in the defence, particularly with someone like Darnell Furlong. I think would still be the one for me. He obviously scored. Was it this weekend? I've already forgotten. Yeah. And is clearly going to be sort of one of the more reliable ones for minutes. Aside from that, you're probably looking at someone like Cedric Kipre or Eric Peters, which if you're really looking at someone like Cedric Kipre or Eric Peters, maybe you should be looking somewhere else. But I know you were worried, Dan, and a couple of others were worried about the fact that I might end up convincing anyone to buy West Brom players. Aside, and all I can say from everything I've dived into is aside from sort of defensive sort of clean sheet points and John Swift, there's nothing really there from West Brom point of view.
By the way, your camera's gone off. Do you know?
Yes,
it flew massively at the beginning.
Am I back?
Yes, you were back now. Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you while you're going.
Yeah, I didn't want to do anything mid-flow in case it messed with it.
Dan, what's your reaction to that? Some interesting stuff there.
To be honest, I've not looked. I know they've not been doing great attacking wise. They're near the bottom from that, so I'm not overly surprised that the only person is Swift. I probably didn't realise Wallace was doing quite as bad from a underlying data point of view than he is, but Swift's 10 million, 10.1.
Yeah,
it's too much money. When you've got consistent performers like Sarah, Dewsbury Hall, and Clark's probably the best player in the league, and then you've then got the Leeds boys who can haul. They can win games free. They can score 3-4 goals. Leeds can, and then there's just no room for Swift. Like, if you want to punt it, I don't hate it. You've had him, Jamie. Like, did he do well for you when you had him?
Yeah, I think he did okay. He wasn't explosive. He did okay. I think I owned him when he got most of his bonus points. The odd return, but I was paying 10 million. I paid for him. And when you've got other high end budget players, it's really hard. So I had to come off to free money. And I think, I will be honest, I didn't even look at the fixtures when I sold him. That Sheffield Wednesday at home was coming up next. And then Plymouth at home as well, amongst Birmingham away in QPR. But he's not worth 10 million for me. He's a good asset. He's good. He will get points. Did he get a return this weekend? Did they end up giving him the assists?
I don't think so.
I forgot to look because I was flicking over on when the goals were going in, so I saw them. One of them, he made the pass, and the defender intercepted it. I can't remember who. He then bounced off Mowat, and then Mowat got in and shot.
He got an assist.
So I'm guessing it's the one that wasn't given his own goal.
Bear with me just one moment. I'm going to double check where he got an assist.
There was one where I thought
he assisted Matt Phillips.
Yeah, that could potentially have been
the third goal.
Really. I thought it might as well. I was hoping it would have, because I know John Jacobson's got Swift, so I'd love to have got no points. But no, especially after listening to you there, Angus, I hadn't even looked at West Brom at all to even know anything about their assets so far this season. So, yeah, I won't be going there. But we'll laugh about getting points from Peters or something like that. Probably getting more points than the defenders I've got in my team at the moment.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. We know, particularly with the Corberan team, you're going to do sort of well from the defenders generally, particularly for clean sheets. And it is worth sort of thinking with, particularly with someone like Kipre. Yes, he's not really doing anything aside from the clean sheets, but he's playing basically every game, and he's 5.5. Like if you're looking into sort of a defence that's that good, that's somewhere where potentially, okay, you're not necessarily getting any upside from it, but if you're more likely to get a clean sheet than most teams, is it worth just sort of chucking someone like that in?
Yeah, well, we joke, but ranking Costello is definitely an issue now, isn't he? He's come
Yeah,
on with 2 minutes to go today. Britain and Pickering seem to be, well, I wouldn't say nailed, but first choice at the moment. So going to someone who's capable of clean sheets isn't really to be laughed at. And there'll be players out there who are listening or watching this who prioritise fixtures over anything.
yeah.
And when you look at them fixtures, it doesn't get much better, does it really?
No, so in that, like, particularly for those people, in terms of just summarising, like, what I actually think in terms of the assets, I think Swift is still viable. You look at it; he's got 5 attacking returns. Um, he's averaging just under 2 bonus per game. That's certainly, particularly if you're making a fixtures play, that's the sort of thing that you're looking at. And then I would probably go Furlong from the defence. But I do think that, maybe if people are really looking to save, then someone like Kipre, but I would go Furlong personally.
No, I agree with you. I do agree. I just can't go there myself. But I say I can't go there. I'm sitting here like I haven't got Alien and ranking Costello.
Yeah, I was going to say,
So,
you could.
I could go there. And you do make a strong case in them fixtures. Do I want to start banking some clean sheet points rather than I'm just constantly looking for attacking returns from my defenders? I'm always looking at stuff that potentially can get me attacking returns rather than who can get me the safe base clean sheet points and then go from there, because nobody's standing out from an attacking point of view at the moment, are they?
No, I think that's the thing. You look at Swift, and then you try and find anything after Swift, and it's not really there. So that was part of the reason I wanted to do this, just to sort of paint that picture almost.
Yeah. Right. Anything else on West Brom before we move on to the next?
No, I don't think so.
For me.
No. Right. Okay. Next one then. Budget forwards. This one's you, isn't it, Dan?
Yes, it's not the so-called obvious names. I thought I'd look a bit wider. Um, we're all looking for the next differential, and although I think maybe the Plymouth strikers are, there's also Chaplin, Broadhead, um, Aaron Connolly. I've gone for a bit more than even those. I've picked 4 strikers who they're either just got into the side, or I think they will play a big part over it with the upcoming weeks to come. So the first one's Adam Eder. Obviously, no Barnes or Sargent. So you'd expect Eder to get more minutes. He's already got 4 goals and an assist, and we've seen at times Norwich have been quite attacking. I know I looked into them more last week, and they were obviously their performances had dropped since Barnes and Sargent got injured, but they did win 2-0 the other day against Birmingham. Eder did start. He's 6.5, and it's not a terrible move if maybe you want to go. Well, I'm not sure you'll move away from Sarah and Rowe, but it's just if you want to maybe go for a different option in midfield. The second one is Jamal Lowe from Swansea, 7 million. He's recently got 2 goals and 1 assist. They've won the last couple of games. They've scored 3 goals in each, and he's been involved in that, whether it's been up front as a 9 or on the left wing. The next one is Josh Coburn from Middlesbrough. They've been struggling, well, pretty much all season with taking their chances, and he's come in the last few games, um, and he played against Watford, and he started against Southampton, and he's done quite well. He scored against Watford um, on Saturday, and we saw a couple of seasons ago where he had a bit of a run where he looks like a really good finisher. And I know we did mention him a couple of years ago as if he got that number 9 shot, he could be a good option. Well, they've tried a few of their strikers and they've not really been taking the chances. So it looks like Josh Coburn has been given the chance. Obviously, he's only just come in, so maybe it would be a massive risk to go there. But if Middlesbrough start scoring or matching the performances that their data says that how well they're doing going forward, then it could be a massive chance to get ahead of the curve. And the last one is Mason Burstow for Sunderland. I was really impressed with him. I haven't seen him play that much. He's on loan from Chelsea, and he was sort of playing as a 10 or up front, but was switching with Joe Bellingham in that Sunderland. So we know how fluid that front 4 or 5 can be for them. And he done a great assist. Well, it was a great pass, obviously. I think it was the assist for where Clark ran half the length of the pitch and then put it in bottom corner. But yeah, I just we know this Sunderland side will score goals, and if he's going to be number 9 or the number 10 in this side for 6 million, could be a good option. So yeah, I thought just a few under the radar ones apart from the normal cheap strikers. Do any of those interest you? I know you love a punt, Jamie.
We'll get to Angus first, then I'll let you know about my thoughts.
There's probably a couple of those. I'm interested in Barstow because I do think you watch Sunderland's attack and there's goals there. So if he's going to be playing regularly, it was the theory behind Semedo at the start of the season.
Yeah.
Coburn is an interesting one for me because I've sort of been saying I gave up after a while, but I've sort of been saying Borough's underlying numbers and even just their basic numbers. You don't even have to look at the underlying numbers. They were having double-digit shots every game and whatever, but their underlying numbers were really good. And so if they start converting that data into goals, which it looks like they're starting to do, then that's obviously promising. And so I think having an opportunity at whoever is starting up front for them, if those goals do start flowing, is obviously potentially a really nice opportunity. So I think if Coburn's going to get a run, he would obviously appeal. The downside for me is they've got Latelat there, they've got Fours there, they've got those options there where it's sort of like it could change almost at any moment.
I think my thoughts on it with Ida. Firstly, you mentioned the problem, Rowan, Sarah. People already having double Norwich midfielders, and then potentially they could even be on triple if they've got Stacey. I've now not got Rowe, but I'd be lying if I said he probably won't come back in my team soon because he's just great value and I only sold him for the midfield dynamo stupidly. But if you did want a punt, a cheap way into that Norwich attack, I don't think it's like a really bad idea. The others, I'll be honest, I haven't really looked at. Other than your obvious Ipswich and Plymouth boys, I think you've got mentioned Connolly. I know I ranted about him last week, but he did hurt my feelings. He did celebrate in front of us when he scored, so that was fresh. But yeah, I don't race him, but he is scoring goals. He's on 48 points now. I've got Ugbo actually, who's getting sold this week. I've had him for so long because I think it was target QPR and Sheffield Wednesday at the beginning of the season. Just haven't been able to sell him. He's interesting, but I think he's a rotation risk with Maite. That's what I found owning him. so I wouldn't go there. Delap, and I like Stansfield, but he's not really getting as many points as the others, so I wouldn't go there. But
He's playing on the wings, Stansfield.
yeah, but I don't think that's necessarily always a bad thing though, because then that can contribute for his bonus, can't it? Like he likes to beat a player, he likes the shots. But yeah, no, I agree. I think it's good to look at somebody else rather than looking always at Hardy, Whisker, Broadhead, and Chaplin, because you're not really going to make many gains from them, are you? But if you're looking for that second budget striker, then I think the four that you mentioned could definitely be potential assets. Any more on budget forwards before we go on to the last topic?
No, I think we covered
I
everything.
think so.
Right, Angus, budget midfielders.
Yeah, so just thought this pocket, particularly as people are sort of moving forwards. Whether I know there were questions about fitting in, particularly the likes of Pirro and Armstrong. So you're potentially going to be looking in this sort of area of midfielders, which is midfielders priced between 5.5 and 7. And particularly recently, it feels like there's quite a few that are performing in that area as well. So it just felt worth sort of, highlighting this sort of price range that you can sort of dip into. So obviously the two pictured are Sam Bell, who's on 51 points, and Riley McGree, who's only on 35 points, but 28 of those have come in the last 3 weeks, or last 3 games.
You love him.
Yes.
Any
excuse. But, it just, we were talking earlier in the season about how he wasn't really playing. And I think, he's come into the team and he, that sort of 28 over 3 games, there's only so much. I know he scored twice this weekend, but there's at least one other game in the last 3 where he returned as well. So he's clearly sort of doing quite well. Obviously, at the top of this list, and he's not on the slide because originally Jamie was going to be doing a bit on him, is Sammy Smodics.
Yes.
Who obviously has 52 points. It's worth saying he only has 1 more point than Sam Bell, but he has 52 points.
I half called Sam Bell on the last pod.
Yeah.
I'm not going to claim it because I didn't quite fully push him, but I did say, they're playing Stoke next, and M over Sykes, he's more consistent.
Yeah. It's interesting, actually, though, when you start reading down the highest point scorers, even in this little sort of set of players, because you've got Dan Neil. I think we've mentioned Dan Neil before, but, who's sort of chipped in here and there for Sunderland. Mateus Martins, we've mentioned quite a bit. The man who really loves the shot. Although the man who loves the shot almost as much as him, as I was finding out looking into it, is Andre Vidigal at Stoke.
Yes.
Along with Ryan Wintle, who I think isn't he the penalty taker for them?
I'm not sure.
Ramsey, isn't he?
But when Ramsey wasn't on, I can't remember because I think he took one. But either way, he's on 42 as well, and it marks Sykes'. So you were saying about Sykes, 51 points for Bell and 42 points for Sykes. They're clearly ticking along quite nicely, those two. And then you get into the likes of Matt Phillips, Keshi Anderson, who's injured. Josh Eccles was an interesting one to pop up. Josh Koroma, who we've talked about.
Pieces.
Yeah.
Eccles is on set pieces, I think, some of them.
Josh Koroma, who we mentioned before, and Jean-Michel Seri actually has 38 points. So, the same number of points as Finn Azaz. We mentioned Finn Azaz before. I know JB was big on Seri last week. He is actually getting points as well. So, I could read further down, but it's just reading out points totals that people can read for themselves. But there's guys putting up numbers in this group. Smodics has 6 goals, but Vidigal, McAteer, Bell, and Tufan, who fall in this, all have 4. And then Martins, McGree, and Aaron Ramsey, who are in this also, all have 3. And then there's a number of players on 2. Patino has 3 assists, and then quite a few players have 2. In terms of the XG, it's Smodics by a mile, and then it's Vidigal, McAteer, and McGree. XA, it's actually Sorba Thomas, and then Wes Burns, and then Alex Pritchard. Big chances created. Alex Pritchard is in there again, as is Sorbert Thomas.
For Pritchard.
Yeah.
And Thomas.
Yeah. Will Smallbone is all like these are 4 big chances created. Will Smallbone is in there.
Scored.
Yeah. Lewis Travis is also in there. And Morgan Rogers, which we were talking about the amount of chances Borough have had. You know, that anyone who's played for them does decently in these attacking stats is something you'll see if people look into it. But shots per 90, you've got Mateus Martins is taking 3.9 shots per 90. Vidigal and Koroma are taking 3.8, and Smodix is taking 3.6. As an example of this, I think Smodix had 7 shots in the game today against Leicester. And so it's just sort of like that. I was then looking at the points in the last 3 in terms of who's sort of scoring at the moment. Riley McGree is top, and it's not the reason I did this segment, honest.
Wasn't 4 to be 3.
He has 28 points in the last 3 games. Next is Ryan Wintle with 23 points in the last 3. Then Jamie's new favourite player that you can't pronounce, Haksabanovic.
I've been practicing that, actually.
He has 22 in the last 3, and then Jaden Philogene and Sam Bell on 20. A couple of interesting ones as well. You had Wilfred and Diddy on 19 points in the last 3, and Alex Pritchard on 18 points in the last 3. I know he's sort of played, got in the team for Sunderland in at least a couple, and we know with him, particularly with bonus, he is one that will sort of tick over when he gets in the team. So I just thought it was, people are looking in this sort of area or going to be, and so I think there's obviously some standouts there like Smodix. Bell, I think, is obviously a good pick, but I think it's just showing that there are quite a few sort of establishing themselves in this sort of bracket, which might be useful to people going forward. That sort of space between your likes of Rowe and the Leeds and Leicester mids that you can find some players in.
Brilliant stuff. Dan, your reaction to that?
I've mentioned Sammy Smodix all year, so I should probably get him in at some point, but yeah, I don't know.
I think with Smodix, because like Angus said, I was going to do a slide on him, but then I did think when I was looking through his numbers, and then I knew Angus was doing the budget midfielders, it seemed kind of pointless. Because what I've noticed in terms of like goals, he's ranked 3rd, XG's ranked 2nd, total shots per game he's ranked 8th, and 7th out of the whole midfielders. But then when I was looking at like XA, key passes, big chances created, he's nowhere to be seen. So I think that's a positional thing, is playing as a false 9.
He's not played false 9 all season though, had they? He sort of played a 10. I just think he's greedy. I think he's just greedy. He's not passing.
If he's getting the goals.
Yeah, I liked him last year, but he was a bit more of a rotation risk. He seems pretty much first choice now. I'll say that, and people will bring him in, and then he'll get benched midweek. But yeah, he's definitely one up there. But I know what's going to happen. He's going to get a double, and everyone's going to get him, and it's going to be pointless because these sort of players, you sort of want to get in and get out for their points. If you can time it right, you can score quite well with them, but they're this price for a reason. They're not normally consistent, but Smodix has been. Do you like any others?
I think if you can nail it at the right time, perfect. And I think at some point during this season, I can see us having 3 of them, because there'll be a boost that comes into play where we want the strikers or something like that, or you want triple premium up front because they're banging them in left, right and centre, so we're going to have to drop the money in midfield and come down to these kind of players. Obviously Rowe's been brilliant, Smodic's good. Bal, yeah, like in Bristol City score goals as well. I know they conceded
Yeah.
well as well, but they score goals. Martin's really good for bonus. Vidigal, even at Stoke are terrible, but you're not shocked when you see him on the score sheet at the moment. There's a lot of midfielders in there, and I think it's having the balls to do it. Because I think there was a discussion. I think it might have been in their Planet FPL Slack, Gaffr Slack, where somebody mentioned that the game seems very template, which I don't think it is. But I think the midfield's very template because Dewsbury's that good. Everybody's got Jack Clark now.
Yeah.
Look at the captaincy numbers from the weekend. Sarri, probably not as much as them two, but still as Rowe as your cheap and able. And then you've probably got that one differential potentially.
Well, a lot of people have a Leeds mid
Yeah, I was
now,
about to
don't
say
they?
it's a lot of Leeds mids now, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think the midfields are very similar in the game. But I think it just needs a couple of these players to carry on, and then have you got the balls to take a punt on it and come off? But it's so hard to do. It's easier to say to do that, but look at Leeds this week. I know they're playing Southampton. In hindsight, they've lost to a good side. We know they're a good side, but they haven't been playing like that. And I thought Leeds would have scored a couple. So
Yeah.
that's my thoughts. Anything else on budget midfielders?
Yeah, I think it's just sort of like like you said, it's picking your moments, and it's sort of that's where the fixtures can play into it as well. If you've sort of got these sort of guys identified, and it's like, I need a cheap, Middlesbrough midfielder. You've got your answer there. I need a cheap Blackburn midfielder. You've got your answer there. I need a cheap, Sunderland midfielder, whatever it is. That it seems like there are guys sort of establishing themselves as the option for that. So it plays in as well for people who want to play the fixtures. That you've then got that almost shortcut to it.
In the second set, when FA Cup round 4 comes around, and half the championship teams have been eliminated, so only half the teams play on that weekend. That'll be a good week to get some of them in, I think. No, but I do think they'll come around. I'm quite interested as well when that actually does happen. Right, now, normally now we'll get into the Twitter questions. I'm going to introduce a new segment that you don't even know about, and I've only just made up.
Love
Literally
it.
about 5 minutes ago. Just literally, this one is a 5-minute maximum segment of just anything from the weekend, anything. And I'm going to kick us off. Adam Armstrong. I know there'll be questions, but I want to talk about this anyway. We sold him. Well, a lot of people sold him. He was playing in midfield, so it was justified. He's now not, and he scored in both games. So, your thoughts on Adam Armstrong? Because I know, is it Rotherham in 11 next weekend after the midweek? Rotherham at
Yeah.
Albion. What do you do? Are you going to get him back? You're just going to leave it? What are your thoughts?
My current plan is to buy him back.
Yes,
Uh,
this week.
Yeah. So my plan originally, obviously, I overhauled, but I did have sort of a plan ahead. Was to actually buy a Plymouth forward. I think I will now be buying Adam Armstrong.
Bit of a difference there, probably about 5 to 6 million's worth of difference there.
Yeah, but I punted on Zian Fleming, and I can't be dealing with that anymore. So there's the sort of the make weight there. But yeah, I think it looks completely different. I don't want to make. I don't want this to come across as negative about Che Adams. It's going to be, but it did look like it clicked into gear much better, taking him out of the team and putting Armstrong up top. So you'd think that they would stick with that.
Dan?
Was he up front? I didn't properly watch the game, but I looked at the formation and they had like Alcaraz through the middle. Was that a thing or?
I think Alcaraz was just getting forward a lot. I might have that wrong, but I think
Because I
Alcaraz
looked at
was
the
getting
line
forward a lot.
and it had Armstrong on the right with Alcaraz in the middle.
I wasn't able to watch it properly until the second half. So from where I saw, but obviously there was the bit that I saw where he tracked back and got the yellow card. That was kind of on the right hand side.
It might have been,
Yeah,
but he was getting central a lot, so maybe that's where I sort of lost track of it a bit.
Yeah,
yeah,
maybe like as an inside forward, instead of an actual right
yeah.
winger, more of a right inside forward.
Well, it's
Um,
better than him playing centre mid
no,
anyway.
exactly, and he's getting points again. We know Adam Armstrong playing up top is going to get points, isn't he? Are you bringing him back, Dan, or not decided?
It's all, I am planning on playing home advantage in 11,
You've got to have him
so
for Rotherham.
I might have to have him against Rotherham,
Um,
but I've got to
quickly,
find a way of getting him back.
next one, just very quickly on this one. Southampton, um, they looked a lot better, didn't they? I'm not saying they're back, but a bit more positive from them ones. Were you impressed?
Yeah, I like. I think it was a bit better. I think some of it. There's obviously little bits and pieces that they need to work on and everything, but it's amazing what Mason Holgate not being on the pitch will do for you.
Yeah, that is right. Another one I thought was interesting. Sims, um, game returns, good for him. Possibly good for Coventry. Not good for Gordon owners though. Slightly annoying
Yeah,
though. Leanne was very annoyed because she knew she was getting in for Broadhead. Sorry, it was last week when she had him on triple. But yeah, interesting for Coventry, isn't it?
Yeah, and by all accounts, he was like excellent, just all around as well.
Yeah. And anything else that you took away from the weekend's games you'd like to just bring up before we go on the questions?
I'm just going to take one more opportunity to bring up Middlesbrough, just as a general thing. I know we've mentioned it, but I had sort of tried to say and then given up saying and then back saying that the results were going to come for them based on their performances and how they were actually playing and how the numbers looked and everything. So it's almost don't be surprised if this is the start of something for them.
No, completely agree. Dan, you got any last ones you took away?
um, probably Sunderland. I know they're playing Sheffield Wednesday, but just how emphatic it was. They basically relaxed in the second half, could make changes. So um, yeah, Jack Clark. Yeah, we had this discussion about is he the best player in the league? He's definitely. I think it's between him and Dewsbury Hill.
I'm not putting anything like that on the record. I don't need anyone coming for me over takes like that.
Dan loves it though. You know what? I missed all three goals of that Friday night. So the first two, I was just getting ready for the game. It's about 10-2. And I'm like, right, here we go. Letland comes down. She wants a drink. I was like, yeah, okay, no, not a problem. I'll go get you a drink now. No juice in. I was like, oh my god. So I shot Leanne, where's the juice? Is it none? Well, obviously not. I'm asking. So I was like, oh, do you want a glass of milk? She's like, no, because I want it for overnight. So I need it to last, kind of thing. So I went to the shop, come back 2-0 down. I was like, brilliant. And then I'm watching it. I've gone upstairs for something, come back down. And they got the first. They were just celebrating as I come back downstairs. Like, are you kidding me? My last one, before we go on to the Twitter question, so 10 seconds worth. Hoover coming back into the lineup for Stoke in a back four, which I was surprised by. Um, yeah, give away the goal basically, but then got an assist. So I think that says everything about Hoover, doesn't it? If he could get playing, he's a good Gaffr asset, but he's very, very bad. Twitter
Five at the
question.
back this week, should they?
Well, we've got Southampton at home on Tuesday night, so
Yeah, so that's what I meant.
I
Five at the back.
I wouldn't be surprised, Dan. I don't think Neil knows, I'll be honest, what he's going to do yet. So we'll see. We'll see. Right, that covers that little segment. I think we should do that every week. Just a little takeaway from the weekend that wasn't the key points. Let me go to the questions. Da-da-da. Right, Mark Dorney. Playing triple this week. I'm guessing triple. Who do I leave out? One of Clark, Dewsbury Hall, Swift, or Perot. He's leaning towards Perot. So I'm guessing you want Swift for that Sheffield Wednesday fixture. Clever man, Mark. What clever than me? Is clever even a word? It's not, is it? Clever Ray.
I don't know.
Oh, so Dan doesn't know, so I'm not the only stupid one. Angus, you should know. You know everything about
More
words.
clever. I don't know.
Cleverer? More clever?
More clever, isn't it?
Don't know. I've gone cleverer.
Let's roll with that.
Listeners, let us know. What's the answer to this question, guys?
Oh, that's a horrific debate. Based on the fact that I watched that Southampton Leeds game at the weekend or yesterday, and Piro's second touch was a tackle, I'm going to suggest leaving him out, but I don't feel good about it.
Who's Clark at Watford? No, I wouldn't want to leave out any. I'd want all three of them, all four of
Yeah,
them on there.
but
Really.
the answer is almost find something else, find someone else to leave out.
That's a tough one because they've all got good fixtures. They're all in good
Dewsbury
form.
Hall, you miss out.
I,
Dewsbury Hall, you miss out against Preston.
you know what? This sounds stupid, but I know Sheffield Wednesday by Lee Swift out. I couldn't not put it on
Yeah,
there
you
free.
could bench him.
Yeah, well, it's midweek as well, isn't it? So he's Marty braised for even playing it in midweek anyway. But it could come off. But yeah, that's the very bad answers for that one. The FPL will never stop.
So we all just go back. So we all said someone different. So we didn't help him at all, did we? There.
No.
No, good luck, Mark. Right, the FPL now. Tough to afford both Perot and Adam Armstrong. Who do we go with? So if you only had to choose one, who are you going?
Hero for me. Piro's going to get 20 plus goals. Definitely.
But let's put it in then over in next four. Leeds is QPR at home, Bristol City at home, Norwich and Stoke away. And then I've completely lost Southampton there. Stoke away, Rotherham at home, Hull away, Preston away. So over them four,
Yeah.
you still get Perot.
Piro will score more. Yeah, yeah.
Angus?
Armstrong.
I'd go Armstrong as well. I just think Rutter, because I'm a Rutter fan, but he could potentially share the points with Perot. Whereas Armstrong, I think all the points are his. And I'm going to buy him back, so that's the reason for that one.
Oh, I'm buying him back.
James Wood, no question, just a big congrats for the pod this year. It's gone to a new level. Gave up FPL but loving Gaffr despite my rank. Well, James Wood, you're my new favourite listener. Darren AD, you can jog on now, guys. Yeah, thanks, really, isn't it? Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, say, Dan, you could say thank you. James put in some nice words for us. Sound grateful.
Thank you, Jane. Yeah,
Don't worry, ignore them, James. I'm forever grateful, mate. Gaffer Hoops, what are your thoughts on Game Week 10 or Game Week 11 to play the home advantage boost? Many decent teams play at home in both weeks, so picking a week is tricky. Cheers, gents. My answer is 11 just because it's midweek.
Yeah, I mean, my first answer is yes, it is tricky picking one. I think it's it depends a little bit on how you're set up. I think 11 is the best one in a vacuum because it's the only week where Leeds, Leicester, and Southampton are all at home together. But it depends on what exactly you've got in your team.
Good answer. Dan saying,
yeah, same.
okay, FPL Frog. Are Watford waiting for Sheffield Wednesday to sack Munoz so they can sack Ismail and appoint Munoz? That'd be highly amusing, wouldn't it?
I think the funniest thing was I was thinking about this the other day with Munoz. Across his time at Watford and his time at Sheffield Wednesday, can you identify anything he actually does as a manager? Anything about him stylistically, what he wants the team to do, whatever?
Well, look at Sheffield Wednesday and I'm thinking, no, absolutely not. They're one of the worst teams I've ever seen at this level. But this is where Watford confuse me all the time because they've had that many managers. Now you've confused me because now I think I'm wrong, which I think I am now. Wasn't Munoz the one who got him promoted was Sard. Do you remember when they switched that 4-2-3-1? And he
Yeah.
didn't have the qualifications or something like that. Am I thinking of the right manager? Because there's that many.
I honestly don't know at this
I
point.
think you are, Jamie.
Yeah,
Because
he
they had
switched
that.
formation and they went really good, didn't they? And then they got promoted.
Yeah. Yeah, COVID season, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was it. I'll be honest, they have that many. It's so hard to keep on top of. But that would be really interesting and really funny if that did happen. And with those two clubs and their owners, nothing would surprise me. That's all I'm going to say on that one. FPL Commander, help again. Fire after fire. Transferred out Barnes for Broadhead, and he did not play as well. Is he a hold or sell? Angus and Dan both alluded to it earlier on in the pod. What, they're going to set it on Monday, Angus?
That's what McKenna said. Was he had a slight injury and they were going to assess it on Monday.
Keep an eye out on Press's Commander and the injury news. And then last one, FPL Calypso. Hi guys, feel the levels of the pod have gone to a new... Oh, stop it, I'm blushing. Stop it. My new favourite listener. Sorry, James. FPL Calypso is now. Just everyone just keeps sending these in every week. This is great.
Yeah.
Currently on Sarah, Rowe, Clark, Philogene, love that, and Dewsbury Hall. So is this week the best for midfield dynamos, or is there another week, maybe a different player to play it? Uwe Holgar. Oh, Ipswich away. Would that
Goals.
be off Philogene?
Not really.
I think it potentially be a good thing. MV Davis. Davis is going to be nowhere near him.
You might rotate Ipswich, you never know. Yeah, don't hate it. Who else did he? Dewsbury Hall,
So he's got Sarah and
Preston.
Rowe, so he's got the double Norwich, Clark, Philogene and Dewsbury Hall.
Yeah, I don't hate it. It's obviously it is midweek. And we saw the last midweek, just teams randomly resting players, but we could get to 11 and the players in our squad, they could have played midweek and then rotate them for the Saturday. So
Yeah, and also Norwich away at Swansea, away in midweek. It's not a fixture I'd like to target that one. Leicester got Preston at home. I don't think that would be an issue for him. Hull away at which I think's good. And then who was the other?
thing is, we're starting to worry. We're starting to run out of game weeks now, aren't we? That's the thing.
They're coming fast
Got to
these
play.
midweeks, aren't they?
Yeah. So is it 15 to the last game week? Is it
That is the last
with the
one, is it,
boost?
Angus? It's not the reset.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 15's the last one. I think, I don't know, we are sitting there and every question we're basically saying, concerned about the midweek. We've only had one midweek set of fixtures so far, and yes, there was heavy rotation, so there's reason to be concerned about it. But we don't know if that's going to happen this week, do we?
No.
But I think if I was playing a boost, though, yeah, I don't think I could do it just from that concern from the first set of midweeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, does that answer that? And then there's one last question, is the guys from Kyle, can't see his tweets.
Oh yeah, he said, "Are Southampton good now?"
They played well. He'll be able to tell you better anyway, because you'll watch them on Tuesday nights.
Yeah, I think that the truth is they probably weren't as bad as we made them out to be off that run, or as a lot of people made them out to be off that run. They're probably not as good as the result on Saturday makes them look.
Yeah.
I mean, it helps if you don't concede a goal in the first minute,
Yeah.
which they were doing. So
Again,
it's just
you get Mason Holgate off the pitch.
I was buzzing with that Carl Walker-Peters return. It's about time I got one. How looking for 9 weeks for that. So that was brilliant. Yeah, and that's a wrap on the pod, and that's probably a record-breaking time for the podcast. We've been recording for 1 hour and 9 minutes. So yeah, but I think we've covered everything there. Anything that we've missed that you'd want to bring up now?
Not that I can think of.
No?
Are we doing a midweek one?
That is a very good question. It would have to be.
Thursday.
Well, I think that's something for us to decide off air, isn't it? Really. But yeah, Wednesday, Thursday, we'll try to put something up definitely. Especially going into game week 11, it feels like a big game week with home advantage
Yeah, it does,
to be played by a lot of people. But yeah, so we'll sort that out. Angus will treat that from the pod accounts, whatever we decide we're doing. In the meantime, as I say every single week, if you like the podcast, give us a like, subscribe, repost, all that jazz. I always forget what they're all called. That's why I always say all that jazz. And as Angus always says, give a 5-star review. I don't actually know what it would help us to, but that's what everyone says on their podcast. So I'm guessing you'd recommend it to other people. So people who don't play Gaffr can watch us. That'll be fantastic.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even if you listen on, Spotify, if you own an iPhone like Sado and you've got Apple Music, go over to YouTube, just click on it, skip the advert, and then go off. We'll get the view. The analytics will say you've only watched a second of it, but we don't care about that. Nobody sees that, do they? So yeah, I'm going to stop begging people for interactions now because it's getting a bit desperate. Nearly 60 seconds begging people to interact with the podcast. But yeah, hope you all enjoyed it, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Right.